experience in my life. I got fired from working at Red Robin for doing that. When do we get to bury him in a thing and jerk off on him, though? I'd say I could take on 3 11-year-olds. And he clicks the button, and he's just this woman cussing him the fuck out. This is the weirdest theory I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, in a lot of ways, Big Boy's never left. He's tied pedophiles. I agree. He will tell you I'm a bad driver, but there's no evidence for that. I have intuition and I'm deep, and then, dude, people fall for absolute monsters on a regular basis.
Hey guys, welcome to the Two Hippies, One Drunk podcast. I'm your host this week, Tyler Charles. This show runs a little bit different than most, as in we switch hosting roles between each one of us, each one of my good comedy friends each week. Starting with Scott Ryan here.
Right here.
And Eric Fady.
Hello.
We tend to pick a subject and kind of run with it. We are also running a promotion right now. If you give us 5 stars on iTunes and screenshot it and give us a review, you can go into a drawing for either getting 2 of my picking between 2 of my art drawings, or getting an hour tarot reading from Scott. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we've had people do it, and they've had a lot of good response from that. So, like, you
to
want
our
some
face.
free shit? At least to our face. Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
Behind the scenes, they just, like, what the fuck is this nonsense?
Who knows? I don't know what's in your heart. How would you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, unless some people, most people don't say it, I guess. I tend to be pretty, unfortunately, brutally honest at times, which is good and bad at times. But
yeah. Well, nonetheless, this week we are getting into essentially our future predictions of what's going to happen with the world, and then other people's predictions that came true throughout history. It's kind of the subject matter.
it's such a weird thing. Like these things always, when you look back, and Nostradamus, I think, did I say that right?
Yeah.
He's obviously one of the most famous ones that everyone hears about, and they're like,
a prophet book,
right? If you read these things, he technically predicted blank and blank. And it's like, I haven't dived to it. I feel like Scott probably actually knows a decent amount about
He's not that convincing.
Okay, yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I mean, anyone can sit there and say.
Vague? Do you think he's just
Too
like
vague.
doing a blanket, like in the future we'll have future technology?
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those like, the tower will fall, and it's like, 9/11 happened, and it's like, okay, but like,
right, like humans were gonna make
a lot of towers that fell.
Yeah,
right, like there's a lot
talking about all those.
Well, think about all the towers that haven't fallen, right? Like, I mean, we have plenty of skyscrapers that have never fallen down.
yeah, right. Or just make it plural, and then you're always right. Like the towers have fallen.
I'm about to make a prediction, right?
If you said like chapter 9, verse 11, the towers will fall, I would be like, holy fuck!
Yeah.
You
maybe
predicted that.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Take the date and time right now. I'm about to make a groundbreaking prediction myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
There will be war at some point in the next 10 years in the world.
Yes, probably.
I mean, so
coming.
mark that down.
10 years, huh?
Yeah, within 10 years there will be a war of some kind in humanity.
There will be a war.
We're in like 4 wars like right now, right?
Yeah,
exactly. That's my prediction.
Like,
The prophecy has been fulfilled.
You need to start making a prophecy book.
Right. My God, I'm right there.
No, but for real, I know you're gonna bring him up at some point. Simpsons. More impressive than Nostradamus.
Yeah. Actually, seriously, they are. The Simpsons. Go ahead.
Is half of the predictions I have are from the Simpsons.
I
read an article with like 38 like Simpsons predictions.
Right. Yeah. Some of them are bullshit. Some people try to really squeeze ones in, but the Simpsons do have
like
ones.
A blanket statement kind of thing.
The Simpsons has a hell of a 9/11 prediction, honestly.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that one was.
No, it's from the one where Homer goes to New York, and it's literally, it says $9 for the bus fare.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the 2 towers make an 11 right underneath.
Yes. For sure. And that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's not even them just straight predicting something. That's some weird animator shit.
Well, they did Trump twice in reality.
Yeah,
I mean,
Trump was definitely a prediction.
But like
Are we gonna
twice.
start out with The Simpsons?
Let's
Okay.
just straight up go
Well,
with them.
because
Let's start with this 9/11
Eric,
thing.
have you heard of the frankly insane conspiracy theory about The Simpsons and their ability to predict the future?
It's not
No.
a title of frankly insane. It's just frankly insane.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't
Okay.
buy this one. I mean, I don't ever completely shut anything out, but it
Right,
does
right.
take a while.
Go ahead. Lost you guys there for a second here. Internet's been really good lately, but every once in a while, I wonder if I should back off first or should they? If you guys can hear me,
Yeah, he was mentioning this. I'm definitely.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back.
Okay. I was about to reset it. I was about to reset the
Sorry
thing.
for the interruption. That will be cut out of the
Yeah,
audio
they
podcast.
don't want me revealing this information.
I know we're getting shut
They
down,
hacked
dude.
into our account, dude.
There's a fucking false flag shit going on here.
Seriously, the second I said Project Looking Glass, it just
I know, dude.
The whole
God.
computer shut down. We had to turn everything back on.
Anyway, though, yeah, no, there was a okay, so there's
Conspiracy
an old conspiracy theory about this thing called Project Looking Glass, which is essentially that somebody got a hold of, like in Iraq, like in the 70s, got a hold of this like black looking glass that would show you random things from the future, and then the CIA got a hold of it.
How long ago are we talking? Like 50 years, 20 years?
1970s.
Okay.
So,
You know what's crazy? This is just old man shit.
Yeah.
I said, what are we talking here? 50 years, 20 years? And he said 1970s. I'm like, that's 50 fucking years. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, fuck. Okay.
Oh, yeah, totally. The way time has collapsed, the way 2000 is both a year ago and 21 years
right.
ago.
Absolutely.
It is insane.
Okay, so when Matt Groening first made The Simpsons, the place he wanted them to live in was Looking Glass, Oregon.
Okay.
Really?
It wasn't Springfield.
No, it wasn't Springfield. It was a town called Looking Glass, Oregon, which is weird because there's always been this conspiracy theory, Project Looking Glass, that they got this black glass from Iraq that essentially would show you the future.
Right.
Oh.
Is this going to some situation where
Whoa.
do they think that Matt Groening has access to this Looking Glass and that's how he's writing episodes?
Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I mean, these predictions, so many of them.
He had access to Epstein's plane. So
You son of a bitch. Don't ruin him for me. Don't ruin him for me.
oh no, you're good because Matt Groening has nothing to do with The Simpsons.
I know. He hasn't for years and years. At the very beginning, but
threw these like yellow block characters and then became a billionaire.
In the first
all he
few,
did.
in the first few seasons, he had I don't know if he wrote, but he had pretty good control over it. But no, it's been a long time since he's really.
sucked,
I was
though,
gonna
too.
say the first couple seasons aren't great, man.
Well, yeah, that's always exactly.
Conan O'Brien has more to do with The Simpsons than Matt Groening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's true. I'd have to look. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Before we even get into this, what is with predictions and stuff? I was thinking about this. Do you think it's them tapping into the future in some way, or like in a dream, or in some kind of format they're tapping into that, or are they just throwing shit at the wall?
I mean, all right, let me put on my tinfoil hat. Like, if I'm being honest, you got to understand, like, if you ask me any direct question like that, I have all sorts of very, like, I don't know, fringe ideas about reality and about the universe. I believe that I've been talking to Tyler about this lately. I've been getting on this train of like the idea that we are three-dimensional creatures living in a four-dimensional space. And the fourth dimension is space-time. And so we can't really fully comprehend it. But space-time is flat. And everything that has happened, he's just yawning in my face.
I'm so sorry, dude. Hey.
It's stalled. It's not even the video.
Yeah, that was it. A stall.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you were yawning for that long.
It must have stalled a little bit because that was a long yawn. We were having an internet day here today, I guess. But okay, go ahead. I was listening though.
No, most of our podcasts are an internet day. This is actually the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's a bad internet.
Right.
Yeah, no, but so to me, I think that time is a flat plane, and I think that everything that has happened has already happened, and everything is happening simultaneously at once. So to me,
so they're just getting in. You think you think they're seeing through a veil to that eventual future that always exists, or what?
I think creativity taps into the subconscious.
Okay.
And the subconscious is that connection. The subconscious transcends time. So every now and then, you don't even know you're doing it, but you end up picking out something from there.
Okay.
I have a question, and this is not necessarily on the same topic, but as you're going through that, it did hit my head because I had a experience of it this weekend. I don't have it, I mean, super often, and I've never, ever predicted anything futuristic. Never. But I do regularly get what you would call deja vu, and very intense at times. Deja vu.
Yeah.
What
do you think about that? Like, what does that fit in with what you're talking about at all?
I feel like absolutely. That's you literally maybe being in the spot and time that already happened.
Okay,
and it's like it's a cycle.
Yeah, or you even think about, okay, imagine if you are a two-dimensional creature, if you were a drawing on a piece of paper, or something like that. You wouldn't understand corners. Corners would be very fucking confusing to you because there's that's a three-dimensional thing. You can't understand it. I almost feel like deja vu is you hit one of those corners for a second.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
I can see that.
I understand.
It's like you recognize it, but you don't because you can't comprehend.
Yeah,
what
for
that is.
1 split second, you transcend it.
Right.
And I still feel like that is the same thing with the predictions thing. Like it ties in with that, where it's like it's hitting that corner and not knowing, but putting it out there.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Okay, so some of these Simpsons predictions. Let's get into those. Kind of want to. So the three-eyed fish in season 2, episode 4.
Blinky.
Blinky happened in Argentina. 10 years later, there was a three-eyed fish they found in a lake off a nuclear plant.
Yeah.
What a shock off a nuclear plant.
Yeah, honestly.
Which is how Blinky was made.
It didn't exist then. It seems insane that they actually had a real fish. That is a cartoon.
The only thing I would say is you go to Chernobyl or certain places in Japan.
You're getting deers that speak English.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking
have antlers growing out of their hips and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a basis for assuming that radio
that could be a thing.
Yeah. So speaking of radioactive stuff, I know that's off subject, but it's insane that if you put body parts on a different spot of an animal, it's 1,000 times more terrifying, even though it's really just the same thing. Just
no, you're right. Anything that we're used to, as weird as it is as humans, we're very, even the dumbest of us is still very aware of things, and anything that ends up being slightly different than what you're familiar with, even though I always think it's the weirdest thing about humans is so many people don't do well with change when in reality, your entire life has changed. Nothing stays the same. But for some reason, some people handle change better than others. And same thing with that. Dude, there's no reason to believe that there wouldn't be, in the deep ocean, some fish with eyes all over its body. But if you saw it, you'd be like, whoa, that's fucking weird. know?
Honestly, I'm surprised there's not more stuff like that. More
actually lately, and I don't. Some people blame global warming, but who knows? It could just the reality is, even with global warming, to me, and I'm actually a believer of climate change, but the reality is, none of us know how the paths are supposed to go. So recently, there have been a lot more. It seems like you see stories of crazy animals washing up on oceans, where it's something we've never seen before.
Have you guys? I know for a fact Tyler has, but you watch some of those Planet Earth documentaries where they go deep into a cave.
Yeah.
Or into the ocean. Shit starts getting real weird.
Absolutely.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Albino bats with one eye.
Well, think about it. They're living in water that is hundreds of maybe miles even at times. I think, right? Maybe not hundreds of miles, but miles.
Said hundreds of miles.
Well, hundreds of feet, miles, whatever, like underground, under the ocean, and
two
it's like
extremely different measurements.
Right, they have to freaking I started off.
Miles, 100 miles.
No, I certainly knew it wasn't 100 miles. I started out with 100, and I realized I should go out and back it off to like 3-5 miles.
There's some monsters, like straight monsters.
Oh yeah,
it's
like
I've heard people say before, like in a way we usually are so focused with going out to like Mars or the space, but fuck, man, we could do plenty just going down in our fucking oceans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are like mutated animals in Chernobyl? Because I've never seen anything.
Oh,
about
absolutely
that myself,
there are. Absolutely, there are mutated humans in Chernobyl.
Yeah,
like generations of mutated humans.
I thought it's
right.
like empty, and like recently people have gone back.
It's supposed to be empty, but I mean the areas around it, like you have to keep in mind, like when Chernobyl happened, all of these people were in it. They got them out eventually, but this has leaked into like areas of Russia where there are towns full of people that are third or fourth generation from Chernobyl. And still have weird defects.
Crazy, man.
That's insane. I gotta look up more stuff about Chernobyl.
I mean, don't do it while you're eating.
This is another thing too. From The Simpsons that I didn't even know that it was an issue, but the censorship of Michelangelo's David sculpture. Do you know about that?
I didn't know.
I remember that.
Something a congressman
in 2016.
David Cross had a bit about it.
Did he?
Oh, did he?
Yep. Yeah.
But what do you recall? The essence of the bit. You don't have to retell it. I just
look at this Republican loser trying to censor it. I don't know.
Yeah. Nonetheless, they did it on The Simpsons in like the 90s, and they actually put clothes on it in 2016.
Yeah,
which is just insane to me. That like aside from them predicting that, why do we need to clothe the statue?
It's crazy.
Did that actually happen?
Yes, they actually clothed it in 2016.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know about that. I knew about guy who was like some dumb congressman or senator who said it like 15 or 20 years ago. I had no idea.
Yeah,
they
put clothes on it, full on clothes.
Oh my god,
ridiculous!
And it's not even sculpted clothes. It's like they put clothes on it.
They just put a pair of Nikes on there, like
yeah, right, to get a little advertisement for those.
Yeah, someone sponsored it.
Well, the way when things happen, the pendulum tends to swing the other way. I say eventually when people come to their senses, take the pants off, give them an erection.
Yeah.
Just swing the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly coming or like pissing in a fountain or something.
Right, for sure. That will happen eventually.
They just swing the complete
opposite. I want to know if Michelangelo's a grower, not a shower.
I mean, he's a shower.
He's not
a shower now that I'm thinking about it. He's got a little dick.
Having
might be a grower.
Having said that, over the weekend I was doing a traditional family trip, and we go up to this place in Michigan. Doesn't really matter, but they have this miniature golf course, and there's this statue. And every year we comment on the statue because it's like it appears to be like a 7 to 10 year old like boy and girl, and they're kind of like jumping in the water or something. But like the boy's ripped as fuck, and then also like there's a fountain that comes out. And it like, if you stand at angles, it looks like he's pissing and shit. And me and my sister were both like, if you ever really like look at it, like so many statues where people do sculptures and shit. I think regularly they like work in some level of like obnoxiousness in it. You know what I mean? Like a dick or something, or like, or just how things are placed.
Why haven't they put pants on that big ass horse at Frederick Meyer Gardens in Michigan?
Well, he's a horse, which is weird because we can
got no pants on that horse, and that dick is big.
Yeah, that is more offensive than Michelangelo's day.
Way more offensive.
Yeah,
you could crawl in his penis hole.
Imagine being a sculptor.
I've never seen this, so it's interesting.
Horse balls.
You've never seen the
no, I never went there. No,
dude, it's giant. Like,
and they have a huge dong.
Huge, giant. Like it's got to be like 6-7 feet.
Yeah,
thing is big.
Off of this horse, like a horse, and it's just like
and you can walk underneath it. This giant horse, and then you walk underneath, and there's just dick and balls.
Okay.
Face. Like, yeah, shouldn't it like make it a female? Why do do we need this giant?
I don't want a horse vagina either.
That's very well. You could seam it in, so it's like you can't even tell.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to make a hole.
Yeah, you can cover that.
Honestly,
with a tail.
this
That's
dude didn't.
true.
You could have had it been like an animation thing where it's like no dick, completely smooth, like a Ken doll situation.
Imagine being this sculptor, because sculpting takes hours. And hours.
He was looking forward to the part with the penis.
You're just working on it, just chip it away.
So the dick is not as big as you're saying, but
it's
maybe
pretty fucking big.
But I'm looking at a Google Images, so maybe it's not doing it justice. Okay. But it is massive. Like,
is there a picture next to a person next to the dick?
Yeah, not next to it. Not that I'm seeing just on Google. I'm sure somewhere people are post pictures of like
maybe
that.
That's 6 feet. I'd say at least 4.
It's pretty massive. You're right.
Yeah.
It's pretty massive.
I'm glad you looked that up. So you can be on the same page about this horse penis. Okay, so
it's a daring Google search if I've ever seen one.
I didn't put horse penis.
You're going to get some cookies.
No, I put giant horse statue Meyer Gardens. So I did not put penis.
That's good. Okay, so let's get to another one of these. Letters from the Beatles. So in season 2, episode 18, Paul McCartney is like actually responding to fan letters.
Yeah, to Marge.
And in 2013, he 2 fans actually got responses from Paul McCartney. So happened. Not too crazy.
I'm kind of confused what the prediction is, though.
Essentially, that he was.
Because has he never written anybody before?
No, he had never had any response to.
Really?
Had ever gotten a response from them for fan letters.
That's interesting. A little weak on the predicting the future end, but
it's a list of stuff they predicted. I
get you.
He would write a letter
to a fan. To be fair, 2 fans. They did get him, but it's
so he finally wrote 2 fans. I wonder what these fans were and what was in these.
Fuck you, Paul McCartney. Respond more to your fans.
Wow, dude. I mean, to be fair, dude, you know how many letters that fucking dude
out of your whole life's career of the Beatles.
I don't know why he didn't just do 0, but I mean, at that point, I wonder.
Or a lot to me. I think.
Yeah,
2 is like fuck you. Just get.
I'd have to look into that. Why did he?
One of those 2 people.
Yeah, you changed those 2 people's lives.
I wonder why why. I really want to look into that story. Why did he do for so long just not write back, and then he randomly chose 2 people to write back to one time?
And the episode aired in 93, and those letters were received in 2003. So it was it took him a long fucking time to respond to these people.
Oh, so they wrote the letters at the time of the episode or something?
No. It's just that's the only time he responded because the Beatles have been a thing forever. So
yes,
fucking that. It just took him that long.
I mean, if there's one thing he probably learned from John Lennon, it's don't get your fans angry at you.
Right.
Yeah. This next one is pretty great. I feel like this is iconic. Most people know about it. The whole Roy Tiger attack. Roy thing.
But see, again, here I gotta be honest, and I love The Simpsons. You guys know how much I love The Simpsons. Is it that much of a stretch to predict at one point those tigers might take those 2 dudes out?
No, I thought that too. That's an inevitability. But these guys are trained people. It was a joke because it'd be insane if it happened, and then it fucking happened.
Yeah.
Do you think it makes Simpsons a little tasteless?
God no. That's a cartoon. That's a cartoon. That's a very obvious
joke. Monsters because they're treating those animals like shit.
Well, they're cartoons, and that's a very obvious joke that they would do, in my opinion. Why wouldn't you joke about them taking them out one point?
That's true. But it's just insane that of course they got it right, like you said. I feel like it was a numbers game.
Yeah, that was going to happen at some point.
Eventually, this will happen. These guys fuck with tigers. They're eventually going to get.
I feel like we didn't know it back then, but celebrities who fuck with animals are not safe.
Right.
All of them. Yeah, even the good ones. Even Steve Irwin, fucking really great person who cared about the animals and really wanted to help preserve them. got killed by a fucking.
Well, I
spider.
mean, like it's like Chris Rock, right? Eventually, Tiger goes Tiger. I mean, dude, you can be a lover all you want. You can be Steve Irwin, who's trying to help, trying to raise awareness. But eventually, dude, some jellyfish or some shit doesn't fucking know who you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking know Steve Irwin.
Dings your neck.
Some floating knife in the water.
Right.
Just gonna stab you.
Yeah,
Remember after that though, we had to deal with his daughter for a lot of years because like, she's gonna take over.
She's still doing stuff.
Oh, is she? Oh,
yeah. You know what? On the one side, you had his daughter who was obnoxious. On the other side, do you remember like you know those PETA people like Bill Maher and shit going like as a Halloween costume, like dressing up as Steve or
not
like a
cool.
stingray.
Not cool.
It's like, yeah, fuck you.
Dude,
you, man.
PETA to me, I think we've all talked, especially on our last episode. If you ever listen to any of us, and animals have come up in this show. No one on this, the three of us, likes cruelty to animals. We all are actually pretty big animal people. Having said that, PETA to me is also one of those groups that just goes so crazy at times. Like they didn't want the guy Indy 500 winners. I know you don't.
PETA
guys
was the one doing this costume stuff.
Bill Maher's a PETA guy.
Okay,
this is why I was bringing it up.
But just like there's like it's a tradition at the Indy 500, the auto race every year. Like way back in the day, for whatever reason, they would drink a thing of milk, and like PETA's like, we don't want them drinking milk because that. And it's just like, guys, okay, I get the animal rights, but at some level, can we go through our lives and admit that animals are part of our lives or something? Like, I don't know.
I have nothing to back this up, but I have a conspiracy theory in my own head that PETA is controlled opposition by the meat industry.
Oh, you think so?
Feel that hands down, good.
Everything, the whole stereotype of the obnoxious vegetarian or vegan or whatever.
Yeah,
so much of that comes directly from PETA.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting, actually.
And they're a business; like they make money.
So your thought is that they are actually there to make meat eaters hate vegetarians even more, or vegans, or something?
It would not surprise me one bit to put it into the public consciousness. The idea of, I mean, it's changing now with Impossible Meat and shit. They don't. Nearly as
That's
much,
interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah,
dude. The more I unfortunately have looked into some bigger companies, you're right. Like I mean, we don't have to get too much into this shit, but like recycling, dude. Like big corporations spend millions on recycling to like let us all. Like, you know, we all have these big crates now, and they're like, "Oh, you're recycling," and really, we're not. Like, so much of that doesn't get recycled, but they just do it so they can keep making their products, and so we all think better.
And blame the individual.
Exactly. They blame us. Right. So anyway,
like you need to recycle. Like, no, big corporation, you need to stop drilling in the ocean.
Right. It's
like literally like BP is just dumping like millions of gallons of oil into the ocean, and you're like, I separated my papers and my plastic.
I know, dude. You know, I know. It's like my brother. I'm not gonna get too much into his thing, but he's worked a lot. Most of his real life career has been dealing with environmental stuff, and we should all still try to do our thing. I still think as an individual, you should do what you can do and try to do good. But my brother has told me before, he's like, try to do good, try to do the right thing. But he's like, dude, if you're going camping and need some plastic shit, you get some plastic shit, dude. The way that this all gets solved is big corporations doing shit. So like,
that's the thing. Is like, the only thing we can get is plastic. So, like, that's the option we have. And the other stuff is they make it more expensive, too. So it's even harder to get that shit.
And like Scott just said, like, dude, they just dumped at one point billions. I mean, remember that? It was an open, like, flow for a week or two or some shit like that. Just into the ocean. And so what the fuck are we going to do?
I'm going to add a prediction to your book, Eric. And the corporations are going to pollute in the future.
Yeah. What a hot take.
Yeah.
Whatever is, I do feel like it's a complicated issue, but whatever is going to happen with the environment due to carbon emissions and all that, 100% going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Now, on the same hand, I also am one of those people who I think that things would have happened how they happened. Unfortunately, there's not much. It's a weird thing. Because there's a lot of people that do care. And we are doing better than my brother actually is more optimistic than he's been, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be good forever. It's just, there are more people caring, but is it enough? Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so getting more into these prediction things, I kind of want to. There's a part of this that's kind of technology based, and it's not. It's like some of the Simpsons and some of other people, and I kind of want to get to Elon. Not Elon Musk. Fucking Elon Musk.
That man. One time I want to talk about him. That man is the bane of my fucking existence. There is not a human being on earth I hate more than him.
Really?
I missed 100%.
That
is fair. He doesn't say anything.
He is an absolute midwit fucking suit who pretends that he is a genius. And
that's interesting. I don't know much about him. I mean, I don't have necessarily a love of him, but I don't have.
No,
I don't really have a feeling towards him.
Tesla. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Tesla.
How infuriating that you would mix up.
I know, but he has the Tesla.
Was that a Freudian slip? I mean,
word association. Okay. But Nikola Tesla pretty much predicted wireless technology and cell phones.
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, Star Trek had tablets and shit like that, and we're all using that shit now.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean?
Nikola Tesla's 1900. Like, this dude's way.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. We were talking about The Simpsons, and all of a sudden you brought something that I did not. Didn't realize.
Yeah. That's. I was gonna say it's kind of technology based. That's why it's like a subcategory, and it does have Simpsons stuff in it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
He essentially did that, and I think it's kind of crazy too. He did predict that wireless technology is going to exist, and there's a statue. I don't know where it is, but his statue that they created gives off free Wi-Fi, which I thought that was a cool thing. Like, he predicted it, and his statue gives it off.
That is cool. Do you guys know the Trump conspiracy with Nikola Tesla?
No, what?
Oh,
no.
Yeah. This one's another goddamn really weird one.
Okay.
So Nikola Tesla had a bunch of ideas for inventions and a bunch of shit.
And real quick, because I'm not familiar with who this is. So you guys said he was in the 1900s, like early 1900s?
He was the guy, Edison, the guy who made the light bulb.
Right.
And him were rivals.
Okay. Okay.
Edison, because he's a sneaky little fuck and got a bunch of patents, won the whole war against electricity.
Gotcha.
Elon Musk of the 1800s.
Yeah, very much so. And Nikola Tesla wanted to give free energy to people.
I don't know much about
cool guy in the the tech world back then.
I would say I don't know as nearly as much about Elon Musk as you do, Scott, because of your hate. I would say that's probably calling Edison, and without much knowledge, so you can correct me, but with calling him the Elon Musk of the early 1900s, I would say that's actually still disrespectful to Edison, because dude, because Edison was at least way back in the time, and he was working on these things, and he
was a piece of garbage. Yeah. Edison was a bad man.
Okay, maybe I didn't know much about Edison then.
I know. I will say
he killed an elephant to prove that Nikola Tesla was fucking had
so you guys know
technology.
You guys know a lot more about him than I do, so then that's where my thing was maybe ignorant.
Edison was at least smart. I believe that there are some well-trained dogs that could beat Elon Musk in a test of wit.
A couple of crows.
Couple of crows. Go to an elementary school and just throw a dart. You'll hit something smart.
Wow, man.
No, I'm just being an ass.
Yeah, I understand. I get it.
I also kind of believe you and agree.
Nikola Tesla had a bunch of ideas for inventions and stuff that he kept in a safe, and the person who ended up getting control of that safe was Donald Trump's grandfather.
Oh my God.
That is established fact. That is
what was this like an old time storage wars situation?
His great grandson was the worst.
Yeah. It was his grandfather owned. It was basically a storage war situation.
Yeah, was it like a storage war situation?
Yeah, he died in poverty. The safe was in a property of Trump's grandfather. Yeah, and he got it. It's an absolute established fact.
That's crazy. And then what happened?
Is there a theory that he's like a mad inventor? Trump's on the side, doing crazy experiments or hires people?
Usually gets mixed with this other conspiracy theory that there is a book from the early 1900s about a picture book about a kid named Barron time traveling, and he looks just like Barron Trump.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
That's how much
legit. That's insane to me.
How much?
It's a fact that he has that.
That is an absolute fact. Yes,
Okay.
that is
that he got the vault or the safe or whatever.
I think Tesla was doing some kind of crazy alchemy.
Well,
shit, like
Tyler kind of asked it, but I want to be like more in like, what is the conspiracy though? So he gets this vault or a safe that Tesla has. What do people think he did with that? I mean, or do you know much more?
Time travel is the use.
Seriously?
The future or past?
I think
time travel.
Gain the ability to time travel.
Okay,
because that's where
Trump has the ability to time travel.
That would be kind of the idea.
Okay.
Which, by the way, would fit into the Back to the Future 2, where Biff Tannen went back because Biff Tannen is supposed to be Donald Trump, and how he got rich was he got the almanac from Marty.
Time traveling.
Went back in time,
we ourselves into believing this conspiracy.
I don't know, man. The only thing I'd say is if it's a fact that he got that storage unit, some magical shit's going on. Some crazy technology shit he has that nobody else has.
Yeah, I mean, Nikola Tesla was
doing wild shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just glad I got to bring it Back to the Future.
Pulling electricity from the air to power shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and also,
what?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, I'm just glad I got to somehow bring Back to the Future into this. Out of the things in my life that
I staple of this show is
do I bring back? I don't.
Future,
have I brought him Back to the Future before? I don't think I have.
Yeah,
a
few times.
You call it an action movie.
You gotta think this is our
30. Yes, you're right. You're right.
This is our 36th episode, and we're all nerds, and you and I love that movie. So
yeah, okay. Oh yes, we did. We talked about it several times.
Elon
you're right.
Musk of films.
Oh, you are a trash person. Go back to your yeah.
Where was I looking?
Walked off. They stormed off. They've left.
I was looking for my little
because I thought you left. So
no, I was looking for my little Back to the Future action card. I was gonna chase it around the screen. I can't find it.
So many props that you never have.
Also, I got it here somewhere. How you owning a Back to the Future toy is.
I mean, it's a little DeLorean. It's here somewhere, guys.
No, he just wanted to play with his Back to the Future toy. This has nothing to do with you.
I predict that Eric.
I can't believe I can't find it.
Back eventually.
I can't believe I can't find it. Oh wow!
Oh my god!
It's here somewhere.
You need to write a book.
What happened?
I predicted
the future. No, he predicted the future. Don't say the end.
Gotcha. God, where'd that damn car go? It was right around here a little bit ago. Anyway, whatever.
I predict that you'll never find it. So in the technology thing, that we're gonna go back to the Simpsons. Simpsons predicted autocorrect and smartwatches. Did you guys know about that? Either one of those things?
No, which episodes?
So, autocorrect was season 6, episode 8, 94.
Does it say anything about the episode at all, or just that's when it was?
No, essentially one of the kids as a bit. It's a like throwaway bit. One of the kids, they ask, he's like filling out a form on this like little device, and it corrects his.
I remember that. I think it's Nelson. Isn't it?
Oh, that was a Newton. They were making fun of they were making fun of those notebooks. What do they call them? The Newtons or whatever?
Yeah. Yep. I can't.
Or is it Martin Prince? Who is that? Who does
No, it was the Bullies. You know the funny thing about that is, by the way, when you look back to technology, right before we got like legit internet on our phones and you could do email, they had so many of those little things that at the time we all thought were so badass. And we look at them now, they did almost nothing. Were they called Newtons or were they called something else?
Blackberries?
No, but like a Newton was like a little, almost like the size of like an iPhone, and you would write on it, but all you could do is write. It didn't even have email, I don't think. I think you just could write notes on it and stuff.
I think you're right.
Yeah, you know what they used to have, like, before laptops were popular, when I was in elementary school, they would have, like, it was exactly one of those things, this is going to be the future sort of things, where it was essentially just like a little typewriter, and you could see, like, 2 lines of, like, on the screen, and you would just type in it.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. And the smartwatches thing was Lisa's boyfriend in the future episode. Talks into his phone and it like does a thing. or whatever.
I remember.
Yeah, so
that,
it was called a Newton. The Apple had this thing called a Newton, and I don't even know if it ever got to the point where it had.
So it was an Apple product before.
Yeah, like it looked like
so they were ramping up.
this kind of
exactly that. Yep.
And so
I
thought they were
version of that, but yes.
I thought when they did that, it's funny they say that I was predicting it because I remember thinking when they did it that it was already out.
I was predicting autocorrect.
Oh yes,
like,
because he writes
yep, and
he writes beat up Martin. He writes beat up Martin, and it says eat up
Martha.
Yes, and he goes and he tosses it. So
yeah,
and that okay, that's fair because that is like
I'm
autocorrect.
glad I have you on this right because I did not remember that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. And yeah, the smartwatches thing is in the future episode. Yeah, they use that, which is kind of. I mean, it makes sense because a lot of fucking 90s things people were using watches to do stuff. And honestly, they say predicted. Still kind of feel like iPhone watches are not catching on to the point.
Yeah, they're around.
Everybody uses them or anything. I don't see a ton of people with iPhone watches.
No, me either. They're still making them.
It's like it's like 3D though, where it's like it's coming back every couple of years or something.
Remember those Snapchat glasses we were all gonna have at some point, and those kind of went away.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You know what's a wild one too of like technology that was predicted and all that 90s stuff that wrapped back around was they all had that goddamn video call shit in the 90s.
Yes.
And then they tried to make video phones and everybody's like, what the fuck? Why would I want people to see my face when I'm on the phone?
Right.
Right now, a lot of people are using it for like Zoom and stuff.
Yeah, now it's wrapped back around because of Zoom.
Right. No, you're right. That was
a pandemic, and that is.
But that's the future.
And that's businesses that fucking want to make sure if you're working from home that you're on the clock.
Yeah. No, you're right. That was like I said, it was weird to me. Like right before the internet came out, they just had a lot of like you said, the BlackBerry, for example, that was so big for a little bit, and then once the Apple had actual internet on your phone, it was like. All that was is email and a cell phone. Like, who fucking needs this?
2007, I believe the iPhone came out.
Yeah, something like that, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But it was just but it was like when I was in school. I watched a lot of Frasier and Friends and stuff, and it was like I so badly wanted to get a cell phone and a beeper or something, but it was like for what? I had no friends. I don't know who I was going to call. But I wanted a cell phone.
It's just a useless thing to like be there until they get to the technology.
I mean, it wasn't back then though. When it first came out, it wasn't.
I'm aware, but I'm just saying it's like a fucking placeholder until we get cell phones.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, when it first came out, like I was well beyond my prime. When I'm talking about I wanting a beeper, it was dumb that I wanted one. But when they first came out, that was probably pretty fucking nuts. Like, hey, at least you could get to somebody.
A trash site somewhere just completely filled with beepers.
Probably.
Oh, I'm sure there is, dude. I'm sure there is, man.
I want to know if there's anybody in the world still using a beeper. Like, are there any active beepers?
Yeah.
Maybe like a country that like hasn't got like up to date technology yet, like where they're like 10, 20 years behind.
Yeah, but a service, cell service isn't.
A bunch of beepers.
No, this is more like an Ethiopia type situation.
Yeah, that's true.
They walk around with their beepers and their 1995 like Super Bowl losing team T-shirts. You know what I mean? And shit. Like that's where we send all the shirts. Like because they have to print them up for the Super Bowl because they have to have them ready that day.
Yeah.
So of course in America fashion, which I used to not care as much about, but now I think about it, what a waste. But they have to have these shirts ready to go. So when the Super Bowl happens, they have to make 2 T-shirts and thousands of them, for the winners and the losers.
Even think about that, like the winner and losers.
That's what I always joke about. They're always in Ethiopia or whatever. They're wearing like, And so in Ethiopia, they always joke that they're out there wearing like, I know you guys don't watch as much, but like 1995 Bills T-shirt championship T-shirts and
that's
whatever.
Where the T-shirts go. The excess. Dude.
I guess someone's wearing them at least. Maybe that's a positive.
I feel like they just burn them. I don't think they care.
Well, if they need the fire, that's good too, I guess.
Yeah. So another thing that Simpsons predicted that I thought was like a scary joke is just Disney buying out 20th Century Fox. Like that was their joke.
Yeah.
And now it's the sad monopoly that we live in.
No, okay, I can think of several jokes kind of along that line. What specifically was the
Does it say?
The joke.
Yeah, because they used to make fun of Fox all the time.
What specifically?
I mean, it was just a commercial on that now Disney feature or like Fox featuring Disney or something along those lines on a show.
What season was it? Does it say what season?
Yeah, it was season 12.
Okay, so
yep,
you're heading into the dumpster.
Yep.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Okay, is season 12 I will give season 12 credit for that boy band episode. One of my favorites.
No. You know what? I'm gonna save. We're gonna do power through on this because I'm not gonna get into my highly nerdy where I could go through exactly when the Simpsons I think went up and down and when they've been good and bad. So because I think the last 8 seasons have actually been really good, and I know so many people just stopped watching, and it's very cool just to say the Simpsons aren't funny anymore. But I always think like I'll ask people though, and they'll be like, "Dude, I haven't watched an episode in 8 years." I'm like, "Oh, but you think they're not funny? How do you know they're not funny?"
Season, not a fan.
I disagree.
Family Guy. The worst Simpsons, still better than Family Guy. Agreed.
I'll give you. I'll take that and move on.
Yeah. They also predicted faulty voting machines. Again, kind of feel like you just, of course.
Well, there was always voter fraud and shit. So in a way, like I don't know if I can.
It's either of course or damn, our life is such a it's a satire in itself.
Is it the Sideshow Bob running for governor episode?
No, season 20 episode 4. So you know,
was it a how? There was an episode where Homer goes into the booth. He's like, I want to vote for Hillary, and it's like, I want to vote for Bush, and he goes, do you mean Hillary? He's like, no, or something, and he keeps trying to do it, and then eventually said, that is 4 votes for Hillary, or something like that.
If it was season 20, I feel like that might have that. I don't know if that's a prediction because
that's still to 2010.
There were documentaries about how it,
and that's what I was kind of thinking.
That's what I'm saying. In the 90s, I'm pretty sure 12-year-old hacked a Diebold voting.
You know, speaking of
documentary about it.
By the way, I don't have the clip for you guys, and I almost need to send it to you, so I can't really do it because I didn't realize that's where this all was going to go. But I'm not kidding you, dude. There's a season I've been recently going once again through 22 through 30, and because I like 22 through 30 a lot, and there's an episode where they start, dude, with like all the news people sitting in the roof of like Statue of Liberty, and they are 100% describing like what happened with COVID. Like it is very much like people are getting happy again. We need fear, but we need a virus, something that scares everybody and makes them not want to leave their houses, but stay watching TV. And they just word things in. I'll have to send you guys a clip somehow. I hope it's out there.
I think I've seen that before. We did.
I think we did.
I mean, this was, like I said, this was season 22, so this would have been, unless you've been watching randomly, this was a while ago. But
we stopped at like 16, 17.
No, we were living together when we were like, because I always remember, Simpsons is exactly as old as I am, so it's always easy to remember. We were living together when we were like 23 or 24 and ended up watching all of the Simpsons.
So this would have been about 10 years ago-ish.
Up to that point, I think it was 16, 17.
Was it? Maybe. I don't know. I mean,
well, either way, I'm gonna have to send you guys. I'm gonna have to send you guys.
Definitely check that. I think
the clip on YouTube because I'm telling you,
clip from other people, like a thing online where it's like Simpsons predicting shit again.
Well, I was watching it. Yes, I was watching it last year, and I swear to God, I ended up recording the whole thing. I'm like, dude, this is literally what feels like is happening right. And they even get into the idea of a vaccine, and then it's kind of crazy actually. But.
I want to switch gears a little bit. I kind of want to do this thing and then do the last thing of like our future predictions.
Okay.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, which I thought was pretty nuts. So there's an AI algorithm that like it's super advanced, whatever. They asked it how long humanity has left.
Okay.
And it said that in 2040, that's when it goes to shit.
I wonder what its definition of going to soon. Yeah.
Essentially,
I wonder what its definition of going to shit is. Like,
is after 2040? That's what they were getting at.
Oh, I don't think
that. Would all be dead.
No, I don't think that.
It just kind of scares me that like that was its. It didn't have like some future prediction. It's like not 20 years.
You know what? It's funny, like being kind of into occult stuff and everything. Like people bring up the age of Aquarius, and like on the far end of which is kind of the idea that like there are these huge cycles that we go through, and we're in the age of Pisces right now, and that started like when Jesus was supposedly born. That's when
Gotcha. Wow, so that's how long they last.
Sun moved. Yeah, that's when the sun moved into Pisces because the sun moves at a very slow rate.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, the Earth is compared to the sun.
So does it take 2,000 years for the cycle?
Yeah.
To get
because it must be because we're right about there. Right?
Yeah,
is that where this is going?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like when I hear 2040, I hear like the end of an age, like the end of the age or the beginning of the age of Aquarius.
Now, what do you have any idea what that?
Yeah, does that mean like bad, or is that like
I mean, because sometimes things aren't always bad. You can go into a new cycle, and it could be
exactly.
There's usually isn't there usually pain to get? I mean, it might be better in the end, but isn't there usually? I mean, there's always pain usually. I assume.
I mean, if you wanted to get into the most pessimistic, we're heading into the winter signs.
Gotcha.
So you think about like Aquarius.
That's not. I was like, we're in the winter sign.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I'm already 37, so I don't really. I've had a good life.
One thing that is really fascinating about that is two things that are very heavily Aquarius related are aliens and like robots.
Gotcha.
I mean, that
interesting.
Makes a lot of sense.
And that's, like
in a new age, where things are heading. Yeah.
Huh.
I also predict that there's going to be robots and aliens in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Age of the Aquarius.
Yeah, this alien thing, man. There's something happening.
Something happening. We are going to see aliens.
Well, the fact that I know we've talked about it before, but like the fact that they've, I mean, really look, I don't even think this has anything to do with COVID, but the fact that like during the COVID time, all of a sudden they just kind of came out and were like, oh yeah, by the way, it's there's definitely things or whatever out there.
Yeah.
Like they just slipped it in there. Like,
Yep. And it's the Pentagon releasing it. So it's a thing.
It's the people who would be covering it up are releasing.
Yeah, or there's some sort of an agenda to it.
Yeah,
right.
You were telling, what was that? Operation Phoenix, or
God, you just make me.
I'm so many conspiracy theories.
The wildest conspiracy.
I know. I'm just saying, you're just repeating conspiracy theories.
You know, the thing is, I will say about all this and all this stuff, though, is like if you're gonna get in, and this is my opinion, but if you're gonna get into, and I don't know shit about some of this stuff you're describing, these cycles, especially these I've heard of Pisces and some of this shit, but I've never heard of any of this.
Yeah.
In the form of 2,000 years and the Earth and the suns. In that sense, I've never heard anything about it. But the thing is, like, if that's the case to me, I don't know, and this is maybe very simplistic, but my thought tends to be, then whatever that was is how it was going to go anyway. We were going to be down this path. That's why sometimes people get on humans and stuff, and I think, yes, there's evil people. I think there's people that hurry things along and people that try to slow things along. But on the same hand, dude, like, we weren't just going to not have computers at some point. You know what I mean? It just wasn't going to happen. Like, and so I always find solace in that because at least for me, I just take it as like, I try to do the best in my own individual life and I try to help people out in my circle if I can. But as far as this mass stuff, I can't do nothing about it, man. You know what I mean? Whatever the cycle is, I was born when I was born.
Yep.
And if we're at the end of a cycle, then we are, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. Like, it might be a little bit early because I know you wanted to do future predictions.
No, we can do that now.
Like,
yeah.
Well, okay.
Let's get into Scott's future prediction.
My thing is, I think the immediate future is going to suck. I think that everything's going to get considerably worse. I think our financial, our whole financial industry, all of the pillars everything is based on is just actively crumbling in a way everybody knows it's happening. It's happening.
Right. Yeah, so, I would say even people that are not paying too much attention, they know that it's not, there's things happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and change is difficult, and we're in the midst of change. I think in the end, I think humanity always wins out. I think good always wins out. I think
what about any kind of like singularity or something? Like, do you think that there could be another, or aliens for that matter, like something interrupting that like crumble or that thing? Because like the stuff you're talking about is a bubble humans are in, right? Yeah. And in the shit that we have going, I feel like it's leading to something else kind of intervening, more or less. So that's kind of what
how so though?
I think that's absolutely the case. I think that things
like aliens coming and completely changing everything, either turning us into slaves or giving us the knowledge of the stars, or the singularity. A computer wakes up and wants to kill us all, or like something along those lines.
I got you.
It's very bleak, grim thing.
See, that doesn't. I the thing is, I'm like Scott in the sense that, and now granted, man, once you get into, I mean, how much ever we know about aliens, or by the way, even though the government admits now stuff about it, that doesn't fucking mean that they might only know about one species of alien, and there's 20 others out there that they're fighting, and maybe we've been protecting ones and we haven't been telling. I know that's whatever shit, but my point is, as Scott says, like, I'm not trying to be the person who just thinks things are going to work out, but in the same man, I always tend to think, like, I always say there's a lot of evil, but if you really, I'm not trying to be just that guy. Like, I'm not trying to be rosy colored glasses, but if you really, in my day to day, like dealing with people and hearing people, I think more often than not, more people are good than pure evil, and they fight back enough that, like, I don't ever believe
humans
that
are like an organism.
I don't ever believe that full evil will ever win. I do believe that it pushes the things different ways at points where it might be doing more successful
and I'm
than
not entirely sure that we completely get decimated. My actual prediction of what I think the future would be is a mix of some crazy event happening and us either muddling through and getting through it, or really devastating us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, no matter what, like, the thing that's always really hard is to see any sort of positive trajectory within our lifetime.
Yeah.
See,
next, like, 40, 50 years, it's like...
but see, that's a funny thing. When you say that, though, like, I think people say that, and, like, you know, and again, not to be too corny about it, but, like, this weekend I did some family tradition. We always go up to up north, and they do it. There's a Mackinac Bridge, and you can walk it. And my point is saying that is, like, I think that I don't believe that, although I know what you're talking about, things not maybe being good for a few years before things can maybe even get better, because mostly I believe that's how cycles work. As you said, change is painful. Yep. But I think that always, if you look at it on a broad scale, then you'll say, yes, we probably are already in them, and it might be 50 years of this or whatever. But on a more individual scale, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's life is going to be, you're in the ditch, you know, eating berries. Yeah, it just means that it's not going to be as good as it was, and there will be noticeable conflict.
Or
you know what I mean? That makes sense?
No, totally. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that is a thing. Like, there are two ways, to me at least, even with having that worldview or that belief, they give me a level of comfort. And one is that I believe in reincarnation. Like, I don't believe that death is the end. Fair but enough. Also, it is the fact that, like, external stuff going bad is still, you still have your individual life.
Yeah. Right.
What is your individual life's prediction? Where you think you're going to be in 10, 20 years?
Let's say hopefully years. Making money off of being creative.
All right. That's your prediction, though. Not your hope, but, like, what is your real prediction? You're like sitting in a sewage pump and just.
Well, I could have been dead 10 times over. I mean,
if you were serious about actually wanting that thing, then your prediction has to be.
Yeah. You're right. That's absolutely. You can't Eric, what is your future prediction for what do you think is going to happen in the next 50 years?
To the world?
Yes.
For one, by the way, and I don't think this is anything groundbreaking. And we have different opinions on this, so we're at the end, close to the end here, so we don't have to get to the actual opinions. I do, for one, think America at some point is going to split and become more of like maybe an Europe kind of thing. I don't know that it means that America won't be. I don't know if it'll be the United States and have like more than states. It's going to be like, I think there's going to be a split at some point. I think the division amongst you could, in the simplest terms, would be conservatives and liberals. I think it's much more complicated than that. Yeah. But I think something like that is coming. I don't think a civil war is coming. I know some people go, "Oh, it's coming." I don't think so anymore. I don't think that we're not going to sit here and get in battlefields and fight like, you know, people per se. But I do think America is going to hit a point at some point where
like a huge actual divide.
A divide. And like I said, I don't think that it means it's going to be some. I don't think it's going to be Iraq and Iran where they're just, you know, fighting in a desert for 500 years. I just think at some point we're going to come to like an agreement that like, okay, here's kind of New York and LA or something, you know what I mean? Or a few different like sections that it will section out. So that's America.
I could kind of see that.
As far as the world, it's so tough. And it's so tough for me on the world because, like, we sit here in America and I think we get a little big-headed about what we're doing here and how we're right or wrong or whether America's good or bad, and what our lives are. But on the same hand, dude, there are people in this world that have been fighting, and think about the lives lost every fucking day amongst these religious wars in the Middle East that, we don't even have a clue what it's like to be in. Is that ever going to solve itself? How would it? I have no fucking way of seeing that ending. You know what I mean? So what happens over there? Do they just keep fighting each other for 50 years? Like, we sit over here and kind of, you know what I mean? It's just a weird deal to me.
Yeah, I would say that, like, to me, at least with my kind of worldview with a lot of that, I see all of that stuff as interconnected. I go, like,
okay,
like Western powers have so much to do with why
I know
that conflict.
I know that's a much deeper thing that we're getting into. It's harder for me to predict because whether we've influenced them to be this way or not, which is, I understand what you're saying, it still is what it is. So it's a weird. The world is such a real complex form that we all don't even, you try to comprehend, but really you're just going through your day to day, trying to make sure you get lunch or some shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's a lot fucking going on. And you're right. It is all connected to us more than we realize. But until it affects you on a very much serious level, you really don't even think about it.
Yeah, no, and there are places where people are living massively different. Like, you can go to areas of, like, Congo and shit where it's like 15 different political factions, like, violently fighting with each other and constantly, like, trade power.
And I don't, and I'm not trying, this isn't me being idealistic. I just don't think that will end up happening in America, only because we've lived a life where we've all, some of those people, it's been either a long time or they've never lived like a freedom where they could just kind of maneuver around and didn't have the government just, I just don't think we're going to fight like on that level, but I do see a separation of America at some point.
The only way I could imagine any real, either whether it's revolutionary or like not revolutionary and just violence, like that sort of a thing in America, is if the internet went out.
Right.
To be completely honest.
Yeah.
Although the funny thing is
pacifying everybody.
The funny thing is, though, you could argue,
dude.
could that end up helping, though? Could it end up helping in reality if we all just had to talk to each other? Because you know what?
With most things in life, it's like contraction and release. And like if you have something extreme like that, you're going to have either most likely a positive outcome later.
Yeah.
Because my always thought is when people get on some of this stuff, in reality, if we shut I think that, like you said, pain before better, change. Yes, if you just shut down the internet in America, for example, not like in a necessarily a communist way, but just whatever. It just we're not having internet anymore. I think, at the beginning there'd be some shit. But dude, it's always like I said, dude, I go on but all of us are pretty decent travelers. We're not people who just went in our hometown. We've gone on trips and whatnot and stuff. It's like, I just never see this divide in my day to day. And I deal with people. I don't just go to country bars up north. I go to New York City and San Francisco. It's like, I just never see it in my day to day. So I wondered if in reality, the pain would be right instant if we got rid of the internet. But if we all just started talking to each other and didn't have to just hide behind a screen, it probably would get better at some point.
I would hope that we would all start to understand who our shared enemy is.
That's a good point. That would be a great. I can't disagree with that either. By the way, because what
distraction, so we can focus.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you. I totally agree. The internet is, and I know it's kind of a side tangent, and we're getting close to wrapping up. But like the internet is this thing where it's you're not talking with somebody. You and I, Eric, have very different political views. We talk all the time, and it's totally friendly. And
that's
totally
the thing. Like we don't talk about
to each other.
We don't talk about it in this show that often, but we probably, I wouldn't say we're as far apart as you could be, but like we have very different opinions on politics, which we just try to keep out of this show for the most part because we try to do fun stuff. But we've been friends for a long time, and I've never sat there and thought about never being friends with you, despite
gotten a legit argument over it.
Exactly. Never even that. Like, and really, when it comes down to it, we go, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually the spot where our values are shared and they intersect. And
right.
Yeah, and you find the commonalities rather than.
But the internet, because everybody's talking at each other
and trying to win. By the way,
aspect.
Yeah,
you're always trying to win.
You're putting up a front.
Yeah, those two things.
just be the most cocky shit version of yourself when you're actually talking to somebody that honestly on a face-to-face basis or like in real life, you have to have a connection.
Yeah, because that person might punch you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the only thing that's
in their sphere, like you're in each other's energies and shit. Like you can shift on that.
The only thing that does stink, by the way, is when you're talking about predictions, by the way, back to that a little bit. I would tell you, like I said, I'm someone who tends to be positive. I tend to think that, and I do think more than ever, there are people that are actually like starting businesses with environment in mind, like young, millennials or even Zs or whatever the numbers are, letters are at this point, starting clothing companies where they make the clothes out of recycled clothes or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. I think there's more people that care than ever about the environment. Unfortunately, like the other thing is what my brother used to always say that kind of was a hard thing. And it's not slamming other countries, but what he had said is, typical American fashion, like we went through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and we created kind of this idea of what the middle class was, and everybody gets a house and everybody has a car and shit. Yeah. And then at one point we all started saying, "Oh, whoa, this isn't great for the environment." And now other developed countries try to do what we had, and we go in there and say, "Hey, you can't do that; it's bad." It's like you can't be using plastics. And so my point is, like, the environment is going to be a thing. I do think that we have enough people working at it. Again, good versus evil. I think there's enough people who realize it now. When these people get on here and say the world's going to be done in 5 years if we don't stop driving cars, I just don't believe that. Yeah. But I do think it's going to be something. I do think it's going to be something big.
This might be a little bit too, but like when you say that, like it's funny. Like I feel like that is a big problem specifically with the U.S. Like consumption is so built into everything. Like you think about literally the reason the U.S. throughout the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s worked the way it did is because there was a bunch of free land because we were murdering the Native Americans and taking it.
Nate, by the way, real quick on that though, I will say this, and I know this could go down a tangent that maybe we don't need to be going down necessarily. I am not saying that Americans are good because of what you just said. They did everything you just said. In fact, I've looked, I've more and more recently, read and heard things about the Indians and stuff. Hate it. I'm not saying it's good. I just think sometimes people discount the fact that as if any country had not, if Spain had won the battle, Spain would have done it. That's the only thing I think sometimes that people just wipe out. They just say America did this, and it's the worst thing. And it's like somebody would have came over here and killed those. And some other European people would have came over and done this. Yeah, not saying it's right that we did it, but it would have happened.
But no, I totally agree with you. Like powerful countries just
do that.
It wouldn't this island would not have just sat here as America. Like the whole world wasn't going to develop, and then because United States just happens to be not only, and it's just that Americans got there, but the walls that we have between the Pacific and the Atlantic, we have a shitload of natural shit that just was so rich that someone would have came over here and taken it at some point.
Yes, no, I agree. I guess the point though, like even if you were to just take that out of it, take any commentary on the Native Americans out of it, we're in this situation where we have.
Agreed. Though you're right on
this promise of consumption. There's always been.
And we could just keep going, man.
All this free real estate. It was all of this free land. Then when that shut down, they went, okay, you can't have free land anymore. There's no more land left, but you can have a yard, and it's like a simulation of land.
No, you're right.
Whatever.
You're absolutely right.
And now that is going away, and now it's like, well, you can have your gadgets and stuff like that. But it's like, where does that? At a certain point, there's going to be some sort of.
No, I agree.
You're going to want, and there's going to be nothing.
See, I 100% agree. This is where sometimes we talk about being different, but I 100% agree with all that. I just sometimes come from I've already said it a few times this episode, but like somebody would have done this. Yeah. And so it's just human, like history happened how it happened. It isn't like, it wasn't just a, chaotic form of events. It didn't just snap your finger one day and now we were Americans. It happened over a long period of time, and other people could have came in here and stopped us if they wanted to, and they tried, and they, for whatever reason they couldn't. I guess, but now you could argue China's starting to do it, but it has been for a while.
Too, when you were talking about like things kind of changing now, like one silver lining that I do think about sometimes is like even when I was growing up, I feel like I don't care was like a staple of my youth.
Yeah.
And now
me too.
caring is a thing that is widely accepted. That I kind of like that things are veering in that direction.
Absolutely.
That, like,
great point. That's a great fucking point, dude. I used to joke about it all the time. When I was a kid, dude, I used to literally joke, you know, I'd have hairspray and I'd just shoot in the air and go, global warming, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think anything.
I don't care.
Right.
And it's like, now people kind of do. And it's not just the youth. It's really like a push through the culture, whether it's you're caring about something you shouldn't or otherwise, like giving a shit is important now.
Totally.
No, agreed. That's why I said I think there's never been a time more when people have cared about the environment. Like my dad tells me stories, dude, when they were kids, dude, you go on a picnic, dude, and you just throw shit out. Like you just whatever. Because you just in your mind, you're like, they dump things in the river and just go, I don't know, it's forever. We got water forever. Some of it was ignorance. Some of it was actually ignorance, but some of it was just, a terrible attitude towards what it was.
Yeah. And I think also, too, the idea is changing. That, like, another thing that I feel like was really common when we were growing up is going away. Is just this idea of, like, I hate my life. I hate the people around me. That was, like, a really popular way of thinking.
Those kind of 90s, dude. If you ever watched Daria, Daria really was like, that's what Daria was to me. That middle 90s American who lived in reality, she lived in a great house, but had that nothing means anything. Everything's stupid attitude. Who cares about anything?
And that's going away too. That's going out of fashion. And
I agree. And I think it's great. I love it that more like positive vibes, quote unquote. And that's a real lazy way of saying it. Because
it's a positive mentality. It's a movement through.
Well, I think more people realize that you can change things, and you know what? Like I said, I've always done it. Again, back to the BP thing. You're right, dude. I'll never in my lifetime do as much damage as maybe they did in a day in reality. I still see it as, you know what? I still like to. I don't take plastic bags when I go. If I go to the grocery store, I try to never take a plastic bag unless I really need it. Or
I mean, for your own mental health, trying to do it. Like
I think it's the right thing to do. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, I was just gonna say we should probably wrap it up. Thank you for checking out Two Hippies, One Drunk. Eric, we got a little teaser for next week.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it Eric's week? It's right.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide how I'm gonna. I don't know if there's a way to word it, but I'm. We always grow up with some of these fairy tales as kids. The Red Riding
Hood.
Yeah, and the Three Little Bears, or this or that, and. You always are. Most of us are aware that there's some deep things. Once in a while, one of them you're like, oh, that was really about this or the plague. But I'm going to dive into I'm going to really dive into several of them and see how crazy they really were.
Like grim fairy tales or just
we'll say grim fairy tales. Well, even just what's the even just
Hansel
with the seven dwarves.
There's a dark history behind that. I know.
Oh yeah, I listened to a podcast about it last year when I was on a road trip, and it was like, holy.
I mean, the Little Mermaid. Jesus Christ, it's the actual book.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to look into some of that stuff, and so we'll do that.
Something I know a ton about, so I'll definitely be interested.
I'm excited.
It's something that I think we all know. Well, I felt like it was something that we all know that some of these little fairy tales have dark meaning behind them.
Yeah,
but we don't look too much into them necessarily.
So they don't get in a van with a stranger.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you for checking us out. Like I said, go on our iTunes page or whatever and rate us 5 stars. You can get an hour tarot reading for Scott or a choice of 2 pictures that I've drawn for free, which is honestly like a $50 freaking value. So whatever. Check us out next week on Eric's episode, and we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks.
Hey, I predict the spot to end.
You're spot on with the future predictions.
Oh, did you hit the end thing or no? Oh, I'm gonna hit.